My name is Renee Nicassi. I'm the Development Manager at Collective Power for Reproductive Justice and your facilitator for the night. I'm so happy to be here with Kate and Lexi. I'm gonna get us started with a short introduction to Collective Power, and then Kate and Lexis will share their expertise with us and their insight. And then we'll have some time at the end of the call for a Q&A with questions from the audience. So if you have a question come up during the time that anyone's speaking, please feel free to drop it in the chat or unmute at the end of the call. So to get us started with our little introduction to Collective Power for Reproductive Justice has been around for over 40 years, building the movement for RJ. At Collective Power, we're using an intergenerational approach. So we're creating spaces for collaboration and visioning across generations. We're putting young people and people new to the movement in the same spaces as people who have been in the movement for years and who have already established in the movement so that they can collaborate and work together. They tend to inspire each other in these spaces, and during these conversations, we tend to be able to create some real change. We have these conversations and create these spaces through our 4 national programs. We have our annual activist conference, which will happen next year on April 14th and 15th. So keep your eyes peeled for a registration form for that. We have our Collective Rising internship program, which both Kate and Lexis were a part of. We have our Emerging Leaders Network. It's a network trying to allow folks who are already in the movement to find support in a movement home. They come together, collaborate, talk, support each other, share resources and all that good stuff. And we also have our newest program, which is our Challenging Population Control Program, which is working to dismantle all of the harmful rhetoric that is caused by population control. Because of our programs, we've been able to support over 20,000 alums like Kate and Lexis, and we're so excited to have them here tonight so that they can share some of their experience with us. And with all of that being said, I'll let Kate and Lexis introduce themselves. Can y'all start by saying your name, your pronouns, what Collective Power programs you participated in, and what your role in the RJ movement is? So like basically what you do for work.
I can go ahead. Hey y'all, I'm Lexi. I use she, her pronouns. I was a RASCI intern the summer of 2019. I began with RASCI as an intern with AFO, the Abortion Fund of Ohio, which at the time was called Women Have Options Ohio. And I started as a community outreach intern, just in the community, helping patients, doing some education, things like that. And I am now I manage our patient navigation program now. So making sure all our beautiful Ohio patients and people traveling in and out of Ohio are able to access the care that they need and deserve. I am a storyteller with We Testify. I do work with Advocates for Youth, specifically right now, getting medication abortion on campus in Massachusetts. I'm a full spectrum doula, and yeah, I'm an abolitionist. I believe in prison, police, and foster care abolition. And I really love cats. That's a little bit about me.
Awesome. My name is Kate. I just want to say I'm really grateful that you guys asked me to do this. I'm an older RASCI. I did my summer internship in 2012. That was with the Abortion Access Project, which is now called Provide. And then after that, I kind of got, I wrote my college thesis about abortion referral practices. And I couldn't find a job. I moved back to Michigan. And so I worked at the local abortion clinic, Northland Family Planning. And that's where I got really into the fight for abortion access. I worked there for 2 years as like a counselor, intake, Jane of all trades kind of thing. And then I moved to Guttmacher in 2015, and I was a research assistant there for 4 years and did mostly work on the big data collection for abortion clinics in the United States, which it's going to look different going forward. But that was the big project that I worked on there. I started my PhD program in 2019. And have sort of stepped away from more of the activist front. When I was in New York, I helped found an organization called New York City for Abortion Rights, and we did a lot of clinic defense work, and we're trying to build like more grassroots organizing in the city. So that, yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So this event is a part of our annual appeal campaign. This year, we all know that it's been a wild time for abortion and abortion access in general this year. Roe Fell with the Dobbs decision on June 24th. And we are coming together today to talk about and envision the steps that are needed and necessary to create a new Roe, to create a world where a road that is accessible and possibly even codified into law exists. So to get us started, I have some questions for Kate and Lexi. The first question I have for them is, when Roe fell on June 24th, in 2022, from the Dobbs decision, it was the Supreme Court made a decision. Do you remember where you were when you got the news that Roe was overturned, and like, how did that impact you in your work?
I do remember the exact moment that I found out Roe was overturned. I was sitting at the park eating a little popsicle, minding my business, and then my phone just started blowing up. And it was a Saturday. So like I was working, but it wasn't necessarily as busy. And then that happened, and then just immediately like calls just came pouring in, and I was the only person working our warm line at the abortion fund that day. And it was just so disheartening. And so just like, as someone who has accessed abortion care multiple times, and like just knowing like the barrier in a state where it already wasn't easy, knowing the implications that were to come, was extremely difficult. And just like since then, the money, the costs of care, the amount of people having to travel out of state, wait times, you know, the impacts of Roe being overturned, what that is causing, we already knew how it impacted people, and it's just been amplified. All these barriers that are added on top of what's already there, they are not tangible for many marginalized people, young people, people with kids or disabilities, people in domestic violence situations. It's not easy for someone to just take off 5-6 days of work because they have to travel 10-15 hours away to get something that they should just be able to access in their county. In Ohio, it's like we go one step forward and are pushed 10 steps back because we have such a Republican majority. And like it's nonstop. It's like every day they have something new to just screw over people that are trying to access abortion care in clinics. And so the work, since it was already hard before, and now it is just so much harder because people are continuing pregnancies that they do not want because they are faced with all these unnecessary barriers and are being lied to and being misconstrued and not given the resources that they need. A lot of people going to CPCs, which is a whole nother thing that I'll talk about in a little bit. Yeah, so those are just, you know, we have people. When you think about Ohio, and you think about people coming to Ohio to access care, when you live in Ohio, like, it's actually a pretty wild concept. So yeah, a lot of solidarity happening within the South and Midwest, which is amazing to see.
That's amazing to see. Really appreciate hearing your perspective. In Michigan, obviously, it's a little bit different than Ohio. But my work currently is as a student, so I haven't been as involved like on the like what you're doing, direct care work, or as involved in like the activist side. But when the decision came down, well, I was in my car and I was like listening to NPR, and I just started like crying. And it's like, it was a weird moment. I think that a lot of people feel this way because, like, you know, those of us that have been in it, we've been kind of like, yeah, this is going to happen for like a while. But when it actually came down, it was like really like visceral experience. And yeah, it just made me think a lot about like, you know, the folks that are working at clinics like that, is to me like, you know, I've known like a lot of people that have given their whole lives to this work. And I had a doctor that I worked with in Ohio. He moved from Ohio to Michigan, but his whole life was like steeped in this, and he passed away like a few months, like actually right after the decision, and it was just really like heart-wrenching that he had to see that, and then yeah, and I think that in terms of like what it means is just it's kind of difficult because a lot of the activism has revolved or is sort of centering seemingly of like around, you know, like having like more access to medication abortion, but a lot of folks that don't like either are too far to access medication abortion or would prefer a surgical or procedural abortion just don't have access at this point. Or there's like a lot that has to go into them getting traveling. So I think that that's something that I'm interested in talking about like here tonight, but also just in like going forward is like the fight for like clinical access and what that might look like for people that can't access medication abortion.
Thank you both. I prepared some questions for Kate and Lexi before this call and I shared them with them, but hearing them talk just now just made me like, Kate, you literally said like, it's nothing that we were surprised about. Like we all knew it was coming, like everybody knew it was coming. We've been having this conversation for well over a year now. We've been having this conversation for decades now. And like, I guess my question, like I feel like I've heard a lot of people tell me that I'm not allowed to be angry with people. I'm not allowed to be angry with the world, and I'm not allowed to be angry at the state of things. But like my personal opinion is that I am. Like I feel like we've been having the same conversation, and the reproductive justice movement in general has been pushing for the codification of Roe, has been pushing for something more accessible than Roe forever. And I guess I just wanted to know, like, what are y'all's feelings about that? Like, it didn't happen, it happened, it wasn't surprising, but like, could we have prevented this? Like, I don't know.
You want to go?
Go ahead, Kate.
Okay. Well, that was, yeah, great question. I think obviously depends on who we're thinking about. So I would say that like in general, the liberal perspective has been to trust the courts, leave it up to the courts. You know, like when they were, I think it was like a year and a half ago now that they started passing all those like heartbeat bans, the 6-week abortion bans. And the response from like mainstream liberal organizations like Planned Parenthood is just like, leave it up to the courts. Like, we've got it. We're going to fight for you. But like time and time again, like obviously that's not true. And the amount of resources that we've had to pour into like legal campaigns just doesn't like, it's very frustrating and makes me angry to see like all of the like the attacks on the right to an abortion, but the accessibility of abortion. And it's coming from, you know, like it's yes, the right is definitely like huge part to play, and like the way in which they're organized around abortion and being anti-abortion, but it's also the liberal mainstream in the sense that you know, the response is always like, just write a letter to your senator or donate $3, and then we keep losing. So it's, yeah, I'm infuriated and I'd love to talk more about that, but I would say that I think we have Democratic Party to blame, and also mainstream strategies that fail to even say the word abortion because they're so afraid of it. So and now you can sort of see a little bit more of a shift, but still you still see this like protect our healthcare, or I went to Planned Parenthood and all I got was a pap smear. Or sorry, these are the bags that people carry around New York City. And then 3% of abortions, like only 3% of our services are abortion care. And it's like, actually, you provide 30% of all abortions in this country. So it would be cool if we had more of support on that end.
Yeah, and I, off of what Kate said, that was said beautifully, like Dems are absolutely complacent in this. I remember like right after Roe Fell, I was on MSNBC and they played a clip of Kamala saying something about abortion and they asked me what my thoughts were and I was like, okay, like Roe is gone. So I don't care what Kamala has to say because we have known this. People on the ground doing this work have known this. When you are, especially when you're looking at, kind of doing a little oppositional research, which I, like to dive into every now and there. Liberals are complacent. Conservatives and people who are anti-abortion say abortion more than we do. They are say things with their chest. We are so deep into respectability politics and hush hush and like, okay, let's try and meet mid-level. That's not good enough because now whole states, half our country doesn't have access. It's not good enough to be doing things after the fact when it's already been here. We could learn so much if we mobilized like the right did. We really could. If we took notes on how they operate and how they work together and how they aren't just like complacent in their own like harm. Like we do sit back and watch so much just go right by us on the left, and do rely on courts and our legislatures, but marginalized communities know that that's never been enough. So that's why we've been doing the groundwork. That's why we take care of each other, because again and again, the courts that were created on white supremacy aren't going to save the same population that it wants to hurt and take down. But overall, the left could be doing more, and also the right is horrific. And that is why it's so important for us to be reclaiming the narrative of what abortion is and what it is not. Because I had my first abortion in Massachusetts. I grew up in Massachusetts my whole life and never heard anyone talk about abortion. And I was always, pro-choice, like I don't care what anyone does. But I just remember like not even knowing basic things about my own health, and not knowing, I didn't know abortion funds existed in Massachusetts. I didn't know, just we had one clinic that is not easy to get to if you're not in the Springfield area. So like there's always more that can be done anywhere. Yeah.
Thank you both. Thank you for those ideas. Thank you for the realness that you definitely just both shared with us. So y'all, like Lexis, you just said, we have to like change the conversation around abortion, and like we have to be more willing to say what abortion is and exactly what it is and what it isn't. And my question for y'all is, do y'all think that changing the way we talk about abortion, so instead of just talking about abortion as like the act of going to have an abortion, instead of talking about abortion in that way, what if we started talking about the barriers that led to people getting pregnant in the first place, like lack of comprehensive sex education? Like, what about those things? Do y'all have any ideas about that? Do y'all think that's going to change the conversation?
Absolutely believe those are crucial and so important and part of the work. And I also believe that when we focus on things like that, it can be used in well, if all these were in place, then we wouldn't need abortion as much. We will always need abortion and it doesn't matter. People could have safe sex forever. People could be on birth control. People could do whatever and they'll still need abortions. So I do think that sometimes when we kind of like focus on just the barriers, people kind of use that as a like, oh, if we fix the barriers, then we won't need abortion. Abortion is not a bad thing. So when we use it as like an other, I think that is doing us more harm than good. It's just another part of the bigger picture. So I think reclaiming that narrative, I feel the same way about an abortion as I do like going to the eye doctor. I'm like, okay, I'm just going, like, it's just a medical procedure. And I think like people, like if someone says to me like, well, I don't believe in abortion, it's not something to believe in. It's just something that is. It's not, you don't get to believe in it or not. It is here. And I think like stopping those things in our tracks, like, oh, I support abortion, but I wouldn't have one. Well, if you have an ectopic pregnancy and you don't want to have an abortion, I guess you're going to die. I wouldn't choose that, but I guess that's what you want to do, and that's fine. I think that really moving away from just like a pro-choice narrative and very concretely pro-abortion is very important, and very tangible steps that people who do support abortion can do.
Yeah, I'm gonna second all of that. That's awesome. I think that there is this, there's like this sort of like shock, like, oh no, now they're gonna come for our birth control pills or something. But it's like, no, this is all a part of the same core thing of that not wanting certain people to have bodily autonomy. And in terms of like steering away from abortion or focusing on hurdles, I think, I agree with Lexi that I think it's important to have a very pro-abortion framework, because if you start with like the most controversial topic, then like you're more likely to win the less controversial things like birth control. And I think that's the right has focused on abortion because it is so important and it is so key to like these debates. So I wish it was not a debate, but yeah, I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I'm young, I'm only 24, but knowing, the history of abortion, like it wasn't always like this. People were not talking about it as out of pocket as they are now. So that is something fairly new, this just overall idea that abortion is this horrific thing. Like in the grand scheme of like humanity, as long as humanity existed, abortion has existed. And it's just within the past 100 and something years that we have just curated this horrific, just like completely siloed issue of abortion, when that is not the case. So it absolutely is tangible for us to reclaim that and bring that back, because it wasn't anything until I forget which president it was that just like for whatever reason was like, I think we should attack abortion to try and get evangelicals on our side. I don't remember, but that's when it started. It was like no one cared. Catholics didn't care, Christians didn't care, and they really did weaponize evangelicals to push this anti-abortion narrative, when we know that the majority of people, including evangelicals and Christians, do support abortion access.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like I read something sort of like about, I think it was Nixon, that was like the beginning of like the Southern strategy and like sort of mobilizing the churches. And it's like, if that's where we're coming, that's what we're up against, right? Then like having sort of like a fundamental, like it is like, this is political, and it does matter that we are like, like centering around sort of like combating that narrative, because if we're not, if liberals or the left is not doing that, then we end up with a strategy of just like, let's protect the little bit that we have left, which we've seen very clearly does not work, because now we're left with, little to nothing. So, and that's after 40, 50 years of this. So it's like now, like, yes, like we're trying to like organize again, but it is, and not to say that there hasn't been any organizing, but just that the mainstream organizations focus their resources in places like New York City, like New York, California, and a lot of like the chapters of like when there was a larger grassroots feminist movement in the 70s, like all of those like now chapters have all been consolidated kind of, and there's a lot less of that. So it's kind of interesting.
So speaking about the politics of it all, do y'all know what senators, like now that the midterms are over, do you know who won in your state and like what impact that'll have on abortion access in your state?
I'm not the biggest policy gal, but I do know it's not great in Ohio. We now have, well, we already had, but we have a triple Republican majority, our Senate, legislature, and court, all Republican. And we thought that our court was already bad. And then they just elected the like most conservative, shittiest person ever. So after the new year, they will most likely hear the challenge to the 6-week trigger ban, and that will most likely pass. And at the same time, Ohio just passed last night HB 45, giving CPCs, crisis pregnancy centers, an additional $3 million on top of the $6 million that was already in the 2023 budget, on top of the $1.5 million that DeWine had given to them after Roe had fell. And this is the same funding that they cut the TANF funding from. So they take money from assistance for families that need support and fuel it into CPCs, which then create this larger need for support because people are now raising families that they were not prepared nor didn't really want. So yeah, abortion will, that ban will pass in a few weeks probably. We had one good bill going for us, the doula bill that will most likely die. Yeah, they just passed some stuff about a really crappy voting law now requiring photo ID, reducing the polling places in the county, all things that will directly impact abortion access, reproductive access. And, we kind of mentioned on before, it's abortion and it is all these other things next. So, yeah, it's not going great in the Midwest. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's crazy, like Michigan and Ohio, like being so close, and like we did in Michigan, we just voted on a Prop 3 and it passed, and that's the right to abortion and birth control protected in our state constitution, which we weren't sure, if that was going to pass, but it did by a landslide, which is great. We do have like right now 2 Democratic senators. I think they would both vote for protecting abortion rights if that were to be brought up. And I mean, I would say that like a lot of our, like the politics here are state senators and state representatives are like, even if they are pro-abortion, like, or for abortion rights, a lot of their like a lot of the messaging has to be sort of, it seems like it's like people are very careful about the way that it's pitched. We did have trouble getting the Prop 3 even on the ballot because they tried to stop it in like this review process, saying like the font was too close together or something ridiculous, but we did get it there, so that's great. At least we have clinics open here and people from Ohio can come up, but we're probably I haven't been to the clinic to see like what the client increase is, but I'm sure that they're probably struggling with keeping up with like the number of people that are driving up here. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at in Michigan.
Yeah, and just to echo off that, doing the work in Massachusetts and just any, blue state where it's protected, yes, it's great that we have access here in Massachusetts. And also clinics are booked up, people are traveling. So like if you have access in your state, that's great. But do you really have access if you can't get care because you can't get an appointment? And now you have to travel down to, wherever else. And if you get pushed past the point, we only have 3, clinics that go past a certain point. So,
Right.
When you get, in your 3rd trimester. So, it is really a snowball effect. And, liberal states really do play a big role in like other states having access as well.
Definitely. I just heard that same thing in like PPNYC's wait time is like 3 weeks long or something. And we, like, when we were doing clinic defense there, you know, like most people think it's New York City, it's like the most liberal place in the country, like there must not be these antis, but like we used to do this big like blocking the antis from getting to the clinic, but we would like start at their church because they would march with like 100, 200 people to stand in this little space by Margaret Sanger Center. And it was just like crazy out, like they were singing Ave Maria on their walkie-talkies, and then they had like, we had like the bikers for life, and then they had like fake clinic escorts. It was just like a madhouse, but part of that was like to just saying that like this is not safe anywhere, right? Like it's we need to be fighting back in all areas, not just in the Midwest, but also organizing in New York. So
how do we fight back, y'all? Like, we can change the conversation, we can talk about abortion, we can talk about abortion as abortion, but how do we fight back? What is the world, what do y'all suggest? How do we move forward from this and as a movement, as a people?
I'll say, you know, it really is multifaceted work, and, you know, I operate from a reproductive justice framework. So that is looking at the overall, you know, protection and well-being of a person. So everyone really plays a role. You know, we can codify it and we should codify it, but focusing on policy, you know, is not going to bring us justice. The same way as, you know, voting. Yes, it's important, because if it wasn't important, they wouldn't try so hard to, you know, suppress us from voting. But that's not the end all be all. So a lot of groundwork, you know, everyone plays a part. You know, we have, you know, the legality and criminalization that's coming with that. We have to be focused, you know, helping legal task force getting together to make sure that providers and people accessing abortion care will be, you know, have support and have protections as, you know, this is coming. Because I think also to, you know, be ignorant to the fact that people are going to have been and will continue to be criminalized even worse. And, you know, being prepared for that. You know, SMA, talking about self-managed abortion, talking about how to do it safely, how to, you know, do it legally, and how to, you know, getting correct information on that is very important. Just overall public education on that. You know, we need people in the clinics, we need people, you know, at the schools teaching the right things. Like that's something in Massachusetts, we know the Northeast in general is this huge academic hub, and we have some of the most harmful information and rhetoric being pumped into these, into these students at these universities that are going on to be our legislators, to run the courts, to work in the hospitals, to work in these offices, you know, working to rally behind anti-abortion things. So everyone really does have a role, whether it's, you know, on the ground, you know, or just talking to people about abortion, or, you know, doing cybersecurity for abortion funds and other orgs. Like there's really a part and play for every single person that wants to support abortion access.
yeah, that was great. I agree that it's definitely multifaceted, and that, you know, there's like a lot going on right now, and I think a lot of people are sort of figuring out like where do you go from here? And I think that, you know, a big thing, like I said earlier, it's like has been self-managed abortion, and I think that's really important. And I think a lot of people are being trained in like how do you help people like do the process. Then there's also like Lexi brought up, like there's voting, and I think that one thing that is an important strategy is sort of like when it comes to these propositions, if we're going to do the state by state route, which it kind of seems like that might be the case, that these be brought directly to the voters. And because it actually seems like we're so surprised that these like measures like Kansas right, that they just they just vote down that it was a couple months ago, but that like, yeah, when we actually take this to regular people, like, this is not actually as controversial as it may seem. So I think that like making sure that we're doing it like where the people get to say, get to vote, and not like this, just do like, again, trusting these representatives, that I think we can't trust anymore. And I think that also, you know, demanding more from Democratic representatives, and also demanding more from Planned Parenthood in terms of, I guess, at least, so like when we think about movement work and all this, like, we don't need Planned Parenthood. Like, I don't think they're a movement leader, but I do think that the good thing about them is they have a huge network, and it would be very cool. Like, it would be very supporting of our work if, like, they would use their network to say, let's have like another like March for Women's Lives, like they did in 2004. And obviously that looks different now, but I think that, yeah, like we need to show our power in numbers, and like that will actually have more of an influence on the legislature, because right now the Democrats don't really seem to be too nervous. They still get they still get elected, but that they're not. This is like a non-issue for them, or comes down. I forgot what they call it, like big tent. Like basically, like abortion is like one of those issues that people that like even Bernie Sanders, like was like, oh, I support. I think it was Nevada senator in a race, and that actually that person was like anti-abortion. And so then there's like this whole discussion about, well, does it really matter for the party? And it's like, yes. So I think building power around showing like the number of people that actually do care about this, because I mean, it's by popular vote, it is like not controversial with regular Americans. So.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not the biggest policy girl, but I will say that if you are not the biggest into policy, city council meetings, you won't catch me at the White House or the State House, but you will catch me in a city council meeting, because that's where a lot of things start. That's why so many, Ohio, not too long ago, we had like 3-4 cities trying to have a little ban, and we were like, no, like, y'all not gonna do this. So, city council meetings, that's where, they're starting a lot of things. We were in a city council meeting in Southern Ohio with a city council member who was at the insurrection, who's now sitting here voting to ban abortion in the city, and criminalize people who are trying to get abortion when there wasn't even a clinic in the city. So they was just out of pocket. But yes, city council meetings are a great place to start and like meet the people where they're at and doing that public education, because that's the people right in the community, and this is impacting them, and they know their community best. And then I wanted to touch on, oh yeah, and in Massachusetts, the work, I hope y'all know that we got medication abortion passed, whatnot. But even in that, they found a little loophole. So now even universities that have a health center are not mandated to provide medication abortion itself, and that is ridiculous. So we're doing work now to mobilize on campuses that are kind of iffy on it, and don't really want to do it right now, and try and make that push, because there's, in Massachusetts, like, yes, it's great. Like for me personally, like, yes, Medicare covered my abortion. And that was great because I had $30 in my pocket, and I had that $30 to put in gas and nothing else. If I didn't have the $30, I would not have made it to the clinic, and I would not have gotten an abortion. Who knows if I would have at a later time. But in Massachusetts, there are also, we have our whole own list of barriers, and just because we have clinics and Medicare covers abortion, and insurance isn't allowed to say that you can't cover abortion through your employer or whatever, that's great. and there are still people that are not accessing care here. So there's always more that can be done anywhere you are. Sorry for that late addition.
No, don't be sorry. Thank you for all of the insight, and I love it. I love y'all's energy. I love y'all's knowledge. We're gonna open up the chat and space for questions. So if you have a question, feel free to unmute or type your question into the chat box. Okay, but while we're waiting for questions, if anyone has a question, I think one of the things on my mind, and like something, I don't know, it's been a rough time. We've talked about all of the bad things, but like, is there anything bringing you joy or hope for abortion access, RJ, the movement in general? Like, yeah.
I think I actually am feeling like a little, like I'm feeling hopeful at like seeing, like we're so in this niche abortion world, but now just like with everything since the fall of Roe, I would say that, it seems like people are really mobilized in terms of like, this is getting a lot of attention. And I don't know how long that will last, but I think seeing that and seeing the proposals pass and seeing like people voting for abortion rights, I think that's been one hopeful piece of it for me.
Yeah, and it is hard working in Ohio because there is so much people power and there is so much mobilizing happening, and we have such a gerrymandered and just like so much voter suppression going on and other things that it's like every time we do something, it kind of gets slapped, in our face. And I will say, more than anything, I think just the mutual aid and community care that really has popped off during this time has just warmed my heart. And, like I said, like marginalized communities, we've always taken care of each other, no matter what. And mutual aid has been our basis of, a community. But now seeing everyone else, kind of hopping on and learning and like participating in it is really special and means a lot. And then I did see a question. Yes, UMass Amherst has committed to that medication abortion. I cannot remember off the top of my head which ones are committed to it. But let me just give a little background about it, because at first it was just the public universities. Yes, thank you, Rachel. They changed it to include the community colleges, which is great, but because they did that, they included an option to not require the medication abortion itself, because community colleges don't all have health centers. So now community colleges, all the public universities in Massachusetts, they can either not provide, if they don't have a health center, they have to provide referrals and information. If they have a health center, they can choose not to provide the medication abortion, but still provide abortion referrals and other services. And then the third option is to provide medication abortion on campus and referrals and whatnot. So yeah, that's why we're doing the mobilizing work, because there are campuses that are like, oh, we don't know about it. We don't really want to do it. Yeah, sorry, I definitely lost my thought for a second.
Don't be sorry. Well, Emily and Janessa also answered Emily's question about the collective rising internship, which you both participated in. But Emily wanted to know how they could get more involved in this work and in this movement. Education is always a step, but they're looking to get more involved. Do y'all have any suggestions?
Hit up your local abortion fund. Great place to start. And I feel like I'm constantly like following different Instagram pages of different reproductive justice orgs to like see what they got going on. Conferences, trainings are a great place to start. clinic escorting, if you're interested in that. And specifically on your college campus, see if there are already orgs there doing the work, tap in with them. If you need help looking for those orgs or anything, feel free to message me. I'll actually just drop my email and I can help you with that. So Lexis, do you think that?
Another question we have is, have you all looked to any activists in other countries for lessons learned as a part of the work? I'm thinking especially about movements in Latin America that have made strides with abortion access, for example.
Yeah, definitely. I think that like Argentina is a really great like a place to look to give us hope in the moment that we're in, and that, you know, they're the reason why they were able to win abortion rights was because they had a huge grassroots movement, and they put political pressure from below. So they had massive demonstrations like in the major city squares, and that almost didn't pass because of the Catholicism, but it was just so powerful because it wasn't again like a siloed issue, but it was really brought into like, we're focusing on this, but it's part of a larger like leftist issue. So that I think is really I think that's where we need to start going, and we're on our way.
Yeah, and I will say I've definitely looked to other countries, specifically in Southern America, for SMA purposes, self-managed abortion purposes. A lot of these countries, they do not rely on mainstream medical care. And I think that's dope. So I like looking to them for that.
The next question we have in the chat is, do you think that it could be a demand for MA progressive legislators to require universities with healthcare centers to provide medication abortion?
That's what I would hope, but I think I'm not sure all the politics behind it, but that's how it was. And then because they included the community colleges, they rewrote it because the community colleges can't provide medication abortion on campus, but they still want them to start providing like abortion referrals, because I mean, so many colleges will refer people to CPCs and not really have any information about it. So I don't have a concrete answer on that. I hope they do, but I'm not sure what that would look like in terms of the bill.